Welcome back to another episode of the Day After Podcast. The winner
What's up,
rankings
guys?
part dose right here.
Because us, we like to talk about our contestants. So I kind of knew going into it that this is gonna be a two-parter. We are doing our top 20. So these are top 20 Survivor winner picks. There is we've gone through some good ones, some not so good ones, but mostly good ones in their own right.
Yeah, just in case anyone hasn't seen the other one, which I don't know why you're watching part 2 if you haven't watched part 1.
To get to the meat and potatoes, the top 20.
Exactly, but just to be like a quick little rundown, 42 was Amber Burkich, 41 was Natalie Wyatt, 40 Jenna Maraska, 39 Chris Underwood, and 38 Danny Boatwright. They're tied. 37 Sandra Diaz-Twine, 36 is Fabio, 35 Ben Driebergen, 34 Aris Baskakis, 33 Sophie Clark, 32 Sandra Diaz-Twine, Heroes versus Villains edition, 31 Bob Crowley, 30 Tina Weston, 29 Erica Kasupanen, 28 Vesepia Towery, 27 Michelle Fitzgerald, 26 Brian Heidick, 25 Ethan Zahn, 24 Mike Holloway, 23 Nick Wilson, 22 Mariano Ketch, and lastly 21 Adam Klein. That is everyone we have talked about. We talked about them more in depth in the last video, so if you haven't seen that one, check that one out. But now we are going to dive right in here at number 20. I forgot who's taking away this one.
I believe it's you, good sir.
Okay, sounds good. We got the winner of Survivor Ghost Island, Wendell Holland, who plays a very dominant game. Very much it's him and Dominic Abate are controlling that entire season. I don't think anyone besides those two had a chance of winning that season. I think that they were just in control of the game from pretty much start to end. But because he is perceived more as a social player, people liked him more than Dominic, even though Dominic was the better, mastermind a lot more of the strategy. Wendell had the social game, and we ultimately see the Wendell and Dominic, it's social game still prevail. It's all the way over in season 36, even though we like to say modern Survivor is more about who played the best strategical game. We have seen instances in the modern game where social game outweighs the better strategic player.
Yeah, and this is one. And I feel like Wendell is someone where also I feel that Dom played a flashier game where Wendell's was kind of I wouldn't say under the radar because clearly he was one of the top two. But he's also someone where he didn't need to make all these crazy ass moves or anything. He just kind of had to be himself and do his thing.
Yeah. Where did you have Wendell? You had Wendell at 25, and I had him at 17.
17 is one of my favorite numbers.
Yeah.
But side note, 17 and 6 are my favorite numbers. Anywho.
Interesting. It's one of those things, he's plays a pretty good game, but because I think he's kind of it's him and Dominic that really play that really dominant game. He loses a little bit more credit compared to some more dominant players that we will be getting to, that they got the sole credit. He gets a lot of the shared credit with Dominic, and also barely ends up winning when you really think about it. The first tie in Survivor, it could have gone either way. If Dominic just swayed one person, he's the winner of the season. So it's it definitely, there was some potential failure that could have happened along the way with him. But overall, still a pretty solid game.
I agree.
Okay, next up,
we got one of my favorites, Denise Stapley. One of first off, being the first ever person in Survivor history to go to every single tribal council. One, being able to survive that is in and on its own, because we've often talked about contestants who never had to go to tribal council in the pre-merge, and then their game looks like, well, what the hell happened? Like, where were they in the beginning? And they get that kind of edit. I almost said added. But like, she was one where every single tribal council, she was there. She was in the mix. She wasn't always like, I would say her standing was great at Mat Sing, but especially when she became the +1 to the red tribe and everything, and that started losing.
Yeah.
Thankfully, she played cool, calm, collectively. She knew, she kind of understood, and was like, okay, yeah, this is kind of what I have to do in order to get past this and all that stuff. And she always kind of played a very cool, calm, collective game. And she was in a power duo alliance between her and Malcolm. And, she was able to make it to the very end, play a very, I would say, not on the surface social game, but she is likable just by, there's just an essence about her, as well as she was a very smart player, knew kind of how to navigate the game and the situation, so much so that in a future season she gets the nickname the Queen Slayer.
Yep.
So that her under the radar kind of sleeper threat kind of style, even when she's on the bottom, made Sandra give her the idol, or gave Sandra the idol, or made Sandra give Denise the idol, and then used it against her in one of the biggest flex ever.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely a big move of Winners at War. But yeah, overall, pretty solid game in Philippines. Not a flashy game by any way or any standard.
She was definitely, I would say she's just above the line of a sleeper threat.
Yeah. She's a little better. You can tell that wheels are turning in her brain a lot more than I think some of the sleeper threats appear on screen. And also one of the more interesting jobs of a winner, being a sex therapist, definitely being something pretty interesting.
Yep. One of those unique professions.
Exactly.
I wonder how the audition take went. Well, then again, I had a roommate their father was a sex therapist, and apparently he did well for himself in that regard.
Yeah. My writing partner was dating a sex therapist, or someone trying to be a sex therapist for a few years. So,
I mean, it's a respectable profession.
Exactly. Okay, moving on now. We got Natalie Anderson from San Juan del Sur, who plays one of the best end games in Survivor history, at least in my opinion. All the way up till Jeremy Collins' elimination, I don't think that she's seen that much, or at least she doesn't seem like a potential winner in any way. She is kind of there. She's clearly being edited as Jeremy's lackey in a way, his number 2 in a way. And then right when Jeremy goes, she has to kick it up a notch. She realizes that her game is in jeopardy. A lot of times she should have been the next person to go right after Jeremy goes home there.
But she was smart about it. She by being oh, I was confused with the vote, wink wink, to eliminate, I forget, was his name Jay? It was the long-haired individual where the brothers look very similar, the other brother, the one that made it to the merge. But she, and I feel she fell victim to kind of being on a winning tribe for quite some time throughout most of the game. So she didn't get a lot of that love in the beginning. So yeah, she's someone where, yeah, when your biggest ally goes home, it definitely wakes you up. And she woke up and was like, yeah, like now I really have to do this. And kind of playing from the middle, playing both sides, and like doing, like behind the scenes stuff. She played it very, very smart. And yeah, when then ending up in that middle spot, whittling away from each side of the alliance, it helped her out and helped her get the win.
Yeah, and she has got the big idol play also with Jacqueline that really swung the game into her favor, where she kind of could go wherever she needed. Like it was one of those where by doing that, she pretty much guaranteed herself a way into the end game, or at least to pitch herself to the final tribal.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely just as Jeremy said, she balled out.
And I mean, I think that's another reason why I like it, Natalie Anderson, just in general. She never gives up, and she works so hard. She just has that mentality. And so yeah.
Going back quickly to Denise Stapley, you had her ranked at 15.
Yeah.
And I had her at 23.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then Natalie Anderson, you had her at 18, exactly where she is. And I had her at 19.
So like we were pretty much almost on the same page with like Natalie. Yeah, makes sense.
Cool. Okay, here we go.
Next up,
this is the big one for our channel.
A big one for the channel, big one for Ryan. We have Tommy Sheehan. Now, first, I think we should reveal the placing for each one, because I feel that's a biggie.
Yeah, okay. So here, I'll say mine first. I had him ranked at 15. And you had him ranked at 22.
Yes. Well, the thing is, it's like both are pretty high. I say one thing that after watching 39, rewatching it from different kind of like glasses, as well as like Tommy was my winner pick, the first winner pick I had on this channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was right.
The first season that we reviewed too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I knew it. I saw him. I was like, this is the man. I would say like this is the only real bad thing I can say. I will say like when rewatching the season, I kind of was like, man, I really like Dean a little bit more near the end. Like, I feel like Dean was like underrated, or I didn't really give him too much credit when I first watched it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Tommy is someone where he would play Survivor kind of similar how I would. Oh, well, I don't know. I can be a little dramatic as well. So like, I'd say ideally I would like to play the game like Tommy.
Yeah. Well, what I think is really important to note off of what you just said there is he plays textbook Survivor. It's hilarious that he's a teacher as well. But if you were to write down exactly what is needed in order to achieve winning Survivor, you're writing down Tommy Sheehan's game. Which is, great, obviously. Like, it just seems like, oh, he's a great player, but it is so like standard and ordinary that it's just, it's very good in terms of gameplay, but it is not exactly thrilling to watch. It doesn't make you like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just did that. Like, you have none of that. You have, oh yeah, that's the obvious choice that he should have made. Like, it becomes because he plays so like how you should. Every decision is like the obvious decision, and he's all about relationships. Like, the first thing you see on him is him going to everyone and saying, "I am building one-on-one bonds with every single person on the tribe," which is what is the best thing that you could do. Like, I saw his premiere and I was like, well, he wins the game. Like, they were showing him and everyone liking him. Everyone was like, oh my God, I love Tommy. And yeah, it was just clear that he's winning the game. So it becomes definitely a lot less interesting based off of how he's edited as well.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are instances like that. Hell, even Big Brother had a contestant, kind of like similar to Tommy. Dude was known for, forget his name, but like basically he was he kind of joked, he was like, oh yeah, I'm like 21 Jump Street, because he looked young for his age. And also he was another like sleeper threat and everything. But like Tommy, so like, and you know, like he kind of knew that dude was gonna win, and then when he did, it was like, oh, big shocker. But like this is something where with Tommy, yeah, it was something where, funny enough, he was also the only one out of like the finalists that never went to Island of the Idols too.
Yeah.
Which you look at it, it was like, oh, wait, you just kind of
Yeah, it really made the twist seem less impactful, because they couldn't even point to like, oh, because of this one thing that changed the game because of the winner.
Yeah, I mean, his final thing was like, oh, I didn't really want to get any advantages and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't even need them. I played old school Survivor.
Yeah, I will call a little BS on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because like, in the sense of like, it's easy to say that if you never really found something, and you also in that same episode was trying to find, you know, an advantage for, you know, like whatever it was.
Yeah, and because of him, he helps his closest ally get an idol, which is the same way of, in my opinion, as getting an idol, with helping Lauren convince people to sit out of the breakfast challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, Tommy could have been implanted onto any other season, and I think he plays a very good game, a very good chance of winning the season. And I think he's even someone who could come back and even as a winner could have a real chance of winning. Because I don't think he's going to be viewed as a big threat compared to some other winners that could be on there yet. Is, you know, if he plays another textbook style game, he really could just win the game again.
Yeah, and be another 2-time winner.
Yeah, exactly.
Very possible.
Okay. Next up, we got Tom Westman from Survivor Palau. And very, very dominant player. You know, didn't really have to play too much in the pre-merge because he was just out there winning the challenges. Like that was his pre-merge game, was winning challenges.
Partially his post-game too, or post-game.
Yeah, post-merge.
Post-merge game too. It was like, just win a bunch of challenges as well.
Exactly. Yeah, but even in that post-merge, at least we got to see him at least play the strategic game a little more. He was able to get with the right people, taking out also Stephanie LaGrossa, the last person from that just terrible drive edges. Yeah. So, but yeah, overall, great player. You know, he doesn't get all the votes at the end. It's very close. I believe it was Kobe is the only person to not vote for him, which a little unfortunate. But great player.
Not only that, and I mean, not only that, he had the stuff to like back up, like, you know, his win and everything, and like, but like also he's one of the few people that have been like a leader that have actually won. Because one thing that led to Boss and Rob's downfall and like, you know, All Stars or Coach's downfall is when you're the leader of an alliance and stuff, you know, like people expect you to bring them to the end and stuff, and you didn't.
Yeah, and that's probably why he doesn't get Kobe's vote, because Kobe goes home before Stephanie.
Yeah.
I wonder if he kept Stephanie around actually like longer in the game, if there would have been more of a bitter jury, because they would have been like, come on, like why didn't we just take her out at least?
No.
Yeah.
It's also just because of how Palau just hashed out, how it just kind of like, you know, that the utter decimation of that team and stuff. I mean, the way people were talking and everything, like Colby in a regular season might have been a pre-merge boot. It didn't seem like, well, especially seeing how he was like the first boot from that tribe. well, in the merge. He wasn't the first boot. But then again, the old guy was like, yeah, I didn't really want to be on the show anyway. I just wanted to show how easy it was, or at least that's what he says. Like he was like disinterested, and like when he had his opportunity to go, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go. But yeah, like it is interesting to think of like this is another swap. But I wouldn't say it's a strong what if, because another thing that makes Palau like stand out is the fact that you know, like an entire team gets decimated. That was one of the highlights of the season.
Yeah, it's what you think of Palau on. It's that, and obviously final immunity challenge. Like I think those are the two moments that are like big iconic moments of the season. And then there's like, you know, all everything else in my opinion is just is also just there to get to the eventual end. But yeah, you have Tom Westman at 17. And I have him at 16.
Yeah, so we have a pretty strong opinion of him, pretty accurate.
Yeah, pretty close. We do have a few of these that are pretty close here.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just going to get a bit closer and closer when we reach the top, because great minds think alike. Well, not always, but because like there are some winners where like, yeah, they obviously did. Like you're not going to see me get well, I mean, like these winners deserve. You're not going to see me put Chris Dardy way at the bottom. Like, no.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
That would have been upsetting.
I would have messaged if he was not in the top half at least. I think I would have messaged you.
No. That never crossed my mind to put him in the lower part. No, he deserves to be high up there. But we'll get to him later.
Yeah, exactly. But first, let's talk about the OG.
The very first winner to play Survivor. It did seem like on his season he was the only one that kind of like it took it as seriously in the sense of like, wait, we're also kind of playing for $1 million. Yeah, this is like a trip of a lifetime and everything. But at the same time, it's $1 million. And like he's one of the things that made Survivor what it was. Like, and there's always something about playing a game first, whether it's Survivor or a party game or something that you have no idea about how this is. He's someone that established the meta of it, using social skills, using strategy. Like, you know, for me, a highlight of what he did was like he dropped out of the challenge first in the final 3 immunity challenge, and he was like, yo, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm not worried because one of you are gonna bring me. And you know, the flex like that, being unapologetically himself. Great winner.
And I mean, it's true that either one of them knew that they kind of needed to take out the other person in the challenge. Like Richard didn't need to be the one to win the challenge, so why compete and, you know, potentially put yourself in a situation where you're also facing one other person in that challenge, and then suddenly they start thinking like, oh, maybe I should get rid of this person because now they're trying really hard to win here. If you just take yourself out of that equation, you know, you're still getting to the end. You still get the chance to plead your case at least. I did put him at number 22. I put him in the middle of the pack because it is so hard to rate his game to all the other seasons of Survivor. It is the start of the season. No one was even thinking about how to play the game. At least season 2 onwards, you had at least a couple people thinking about the game in a more strategic sense.
Part of the reason I did have him higher was because he was the one making the show what it is today, and 2, because like being the first ever winner and not having that frame of reference of like, all right, you know, not knowing the meta. It's always scarier and tougher to win the first time around because you don't know how to play or there's no like example of it.
Yeah. I
Which
will say he is the first person now to be on one of our top tens. Because you ranked him as number 8.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty fitting place for him. He's definitely a top tier contestant, and when we're talking about winners, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Next, moving on to a very dominant player, Earl Cole from Survivor Fiji, someone who didn't even know what Survivor was when he went out there to play the game. But yeah, ends up being
Winning.
the first. Yeah, he wins and is the first one to win unanimously, getting all the votes at the end. Technically not a perfect game because he received a stray vote around like the merge area, I believe. So somewhere around there, he gets a stray vote. So technically not a perfect game, but still a very dominant game. I had oh no, you had ranked him 13, and I had ranked him 10.
How did he end up for? Huh.
Yeah.
Usually I would think they'd like even out or something, but
I know that there's definitely some stuff up here where I think there's a few of our top 10s where one of us ranked someone really low and it kind of like forced someone to get placed way down.
monkeyed things up.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, Earl, very likable, played a pretty good social game. He was also someone where he he was also good at challenges and stuff. Like I distinctly remember him. I remember the tribal dance stuff, and like he was into it and everything. That's one of my favorite Earl moments because one, it was a win on his side, and two, like they don't do Survivor challenges like that anymore. Which I think is like obviously the obstacle course and something, but I do kind of like miss the variety in that regard.
I love for them to do like in a similar thing to like Total Drama Island, like a talent show kind of thing. Like how great would that be if like the tree mail came and they said you have like 2 hours to rehearse talent show acts for immunity. Like how funny would that be to see everyone have to figure out what is a talent that I can bring from outside of the game and be able to use it here on the island.
Do a flip.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like it would be, whatever. It doesn't matter necessarily what it is, but it would be fun to see everyone's thought process of quickly trying to figure out what I could potentially do to have some showmanship to get an immunity. And it's a way for, maybe a less physical person to also win a challenge. Like it's really anyone could win.
That is fair. Yeah. But yeah, I feel Earl, he would have been I feel like, didn't he not just have any interest playing Survivor again?
Well, I know he got the call for Winners at War, but he couldn't do it because of real life things that stopped him. But I think I think he wanted to play. Like if that wasn't stopping him, I think he would have been out there.
Well, I mean, hopefully he's in the consideration for it in future ones. I don't know, like when the next returnee season is going to be.
Yeah, it could be a while. It seems like they're wanting to do a lot of newbie seasons right now.
Fair point, especially since I don't know. Like I feel like it's really tough to say when they would do a new one. Because part of me is like, part of it should be at 50, but at the same time 50 is such a like iconic one, and I know like some people are like, wow, 50 seasons, will the show be over by then? Or so like who knows. But Earl is someone where he's a very well respected winner, understandably so, and he's honestly one of the highlights of what would have been the worst season of Survivor.
It was not very good.
No, the twist was there was a few highlights. A few
him and Yao Man. I think those were the two big players.
Yeah, I would say like the dreams, or like the dreams thing kind of like made it a little bit more interesting at the end. But yeah, it's partially due to Yao-Man and Earl why that season is not completely at the bottom. If it is at the bottom of someone's list, I would understand,
Yeah.
but like at least
It's
for us, like
it's definitely a bottom 5.
yeah, they made the season more palatable
Yeah.
and or I wouldn't say, because obviously you can watch whatever Survivor seasons you want or whatever, but if you're going through everything, you know, it's something where it's not as terrible to watch on a
Yeah.
rewatch.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also not something that like I'm going, man, I gotta watch a episode of Survivor Fiji right now. That's really what I'm interested in.
Yeah, it's fair.
Exactly,
All right.
exactly. Okay, next up, we got another great player played next season after Earl Cole. We got Todd Herzog, very, very strong game player, strategically sound, really seemed to know what was going on pretty much throughout the entire game. And also, I'd argue is either the top final tribal performance or second best final tribal council performance. Really managed to nail the landing of the season in a very strong way. Was very compassionate. Really told everyone what they needed to hear at the right time to get everyone to want to give him the votes.
Yeah, smart player. He's one of the ones where I feel like if real life events didn't happen, he would have been back at least once more time.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, like his gameplay, like you said, it was pretty dominant, and he always kind of like knew what he had to do, things like that. And like, even though when I first watched it, I didn't know who the winner of that Survivor was going to be. I knew like who didn't win, just due to like have seen Heroes versus Villains.
Yeah.
But like definitely watching him play and everything, like you could tell like it was like, yeah, Todd's gonna win this thing. Yeah, just very smart, very strategic, and I'm a little foggy on his final tribal.
Yeah, definitely go rewatch it because it is sight to behold. Like he's the, like I said, Marianne is someone that you need to take notes. I think his is a better example of how to nail final tribal council.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you have Todd at 14, and I have Todd at 9.
Very respectable placings.
Yeah. Nice. Let's move on now
to good old Boston Rob.
Yeah, these are some really great players here. We're getting to the greats, really.
Yeah. Admittedly, I did put him lower on the list, or like mid to like, or like mid of the list, right?
Yeah, you put Boston Rob. Where is he? 19, and I put him at 3.
3. I would say yes, he played like a very dominant game. He did have like the flex of not playing an idol. I'd say the one thing that kind of like really stopped me from putting him higher, well, actually there was like 2 things. One, it was his 4th time out. So it was like, by laws of probability, the more you play, granted he's the only 4-time winner that one of their initial 3 times wasn't already a win.
Yeah.
To have one Survivor, to play for a 4th time. Sorry, Ryan's not good at English. But like, the fact, especially what you kind of described to me about like, that he played or like he was played with a lot of people that kind of like knew who he was and kind of worshipped him and was like, yeah, I want to work with Boston Rob. Those kind of things kind of made me was like, well, he still played a really great game and all. However, there was just like a few things where I'm like, yeah, I can't, I personally, I couldn't like justify putting it higher.
Yeah.
But I but regardless of that, still played like a really, really great game.
Yet again, if this was who I personally liked, who I personally thought played a better game, I think you're pretty close to where I would put him, actually. But looking at it from just the game itself, I consider 3 just purely dominant games of just they completely outright snowballed it. And I put him at the bottom of those 3 because of what you just said. Like like because of that, that's what got him lower in the pure dominance aspect of it. But I mean, it's still one of the most dominant games that we have ever seen, where just from episode 1, he had the entire tribe basically worshiping him,
eating out of the palm of his hands.
Exactly. So because
not only that, just convincing the rest of his tribe to treat the other tribe that was getting decimated like shit. Like, just screw this guy. Screw these guys.
Yeah. And he did it in a way also where they end up kind of being looked at as in a more negative light than him. Like, he's doing a little bit, but he's not doing it too much. He basically told them to treat them like that, so that way they're doing it, but he's kind of like, let's just not talk to them. And so he just doesn't talk to them. It's
the mob boss. It's the mob boss mentality. Whereas like you let the underlings do all the dirty work. You just handle the business side of things.
Exactly. Yeah. So because of that, he's still in my eyes one of the top 3 dominant games of all time. But
definitely a dominant game.
Yeah.
No arguing there.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Let's move on now. I'll reveal a little bit of what's going to happen in the future there. Next up, we got Quan from Cook Islands. One of the smartest players to play the game, really played the strategic side. He had his physical member of Aussie winning all of the immunities, pretty much allowing it so that way what was it? What was the alliance? Was it? I forgot what the name of it.
I forgot the name, but it was 4 people, and basically there was a huge, when it was down to like 6 on each of the tribes after they just swapped and everything.
Yeah, I-2-4, that's what it was.
The I-2-4. And then there was the mutiny, and it went from a 6-6 to 8-4, and the 4 stuck together.
Yeah.
And part of Yule's thing is like, hey, it's us. It's us against the world. And like decided like this was the alliance to bring to the end. And he achieved that. Granted, having immunity, having the broken immunity necklace, there is that one little asterisk against him in that game.
Immunity idol. It wasn't a necklace.
Or immunity idol. It was technically, or wasn't a necklace?
No, I don't think it was. I thought it was still. It was like what you normally saw.
Either way, like. There is that. However, they could have always targeted his underlings and everything. And he was someone where, even though him and Becky were kind of like equals, one thing that kind of like put him over the edge strategy-wise was having that idol and kind of being like at least like the leader and stuff, like even talking to Penner and being like, yeah, you can't really vote me out, and stuff like that, and then gaining the momentum of like, all right, and pretty much turn the game totally around.
Yeah, very, very strong player. But definitely in my books lost at least a little bit of points because of the idol. I did dock him a little bit there because it's like, if he didn't have that, I don't know if the season pans out that way. I think that there's a good chance that he's, a mid-merge boot that ends up happening.
That's fair. Yeah. And like I've even admitted too, and I like Yule. I brought him so many times on our branch. It was like, Yule. Very smart guy. And kind of like what I said in the last video, he's also like in a season where they were targeting old school peeps, the last one standing before, someone was brought back. from the old school players. Like, and that's saying something. Like, he is not only just like very strategic, he is very sociable. Not in like a in your face or like there's different types of charisma. There's like more social butterfly charisma, and then there's like genuine like or like more like one-on-one connection. Like charisma. I don't want to say like, because both can be very genuine, being a social butterfly and just like really getting to know people, and very like, not what's the word I'm looking for, not extrovert. And then there's like, like the introvert that's like great at one-on-one interactions. And that's somewhat what Yule is. He's good at like connecting with someone on like a personal level.
Yeah, exactly. So you had Yule at 10 and I had Yule at 11.
Yeah, fair placement.
Yeah, pretty much the same there.
This is our top 10.
Yes.
And at number 10, we have Chris Dardy. He was Dead Man Walking, and then he was just, good enough, and just made it to the right amount of time where, the women from Vanuatu were starting to cannibalize each other, and it gave him the edge, and then winning, challenges where he needed to, and being, having this underdog story. And another example of someone that was supposed to go out first, but didn't, and then, ended up winning and had like a very strong, like, underdog story going into Final Tribal. And Twyla kind of shot herself in the foot by, swearing on her son and everything. But, I feel even without that, Chris still has like a very solid Final Tribal.
Yeah,
like
one of the best as well. Like him and Todd, I consider the two best Final Tribal performances in Survivor history. Mariano Ketch is now probably like number 3 or 4 in my books there. But yeah, very good. He went in there with a jury that was ready to give Twyla the win because she was the last girl standing with a majority jury of females that a lot of them wanted a female to win the season. Like that's what they were talking for almost the whole season, and that they wanted a woman to win the season. And Chris ends up getting there with probably the best chance of them not wanting to let that woman win. And then he manages to talk to every single one. He gave the perfect answer to everyone's, even if it was complete bullshit. Like he told them what they wanted to hear to get him the win. Even Sarge, I think, said at the start of his like thing, like, I'm not voting for you, but ends up voting for him because of just how good of his Final Tribal is. Yeah.
Very respectable.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, we got.
Oh wait, placement for.
Oh, yeah. Chris, you put him at 11, and I put him at 8.
Yeah, he definitely fell in that category.
Yeah. Top 10. Nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, especially with, especially if you're above, like Boston Rob and Yule. Saying something.
Yeah, there's a real I think the top half of the Survivor winners, you should be happy to be in that top half. It is a very tough thing to break.
Exactly. Or is it you or me?
It's you, right?
All right. So next up we have Sarah Lucina, the winner of Game Changers. Now she is someone where she played a very under the radar game. She was also very strategic in what she did. She made a lot of good moves where she was able to get advantages. Like one that was meant for Michaela, and then seeing on the bench, like, she didn't notice that. I'll freaking take it. She could have said nothing, but like, no, she successfully got the advantage and was able to kind of like, use it in a very unconventional way, where it's like, all right, I'm going to give it to someone, make them think they can play it, and then be like, nah, and just kind of like blow up their game kind of right then and there. And then also, you know, like convincing Sierra, the other Sierra, Sierra Anglum, or now Sierra Anglum. I don't know if she did his last name. Anywho,
I think so. I feel like she did.
Like the time before, it was like, oh yeah, I have this legacy advantage, and then Sarah's like, oh, that's cool. Bye. And then, you know, and getting that, and it leading to one of the most iconic eliminations of Survivor, you know, Cerie's elimination, where no other votes could be cast to anyone else at the final 6.
Yeah.
Also just playing an under the radar game, kind of like letting kind of like others take the heat and stuff, and playing a very, very smart game. I have a lot of respect for Lucina. So yeah.
Very, very strong game. You know, when you see her Cagayan game, you know, I thought that, you know, she seemed like somewhat confident, but nothing great. Like going into Game Changer, she was definitely a bit of a question mark in terms of like, I guess they brought her back because they just wanted to bring someone from Cagayan, I guess.
That, and also since they were bringing back Tony, to have that little.
Yeah, they wanted to have that rivalry, but they were actually going to work together, is what they did say they were going to work. But I mean, great player. Beats you know, Brad Culpepper at the end, who was one of the big dominant physical threats of the season and of Survivor overall, pretty much. But yeah, overall great game. I have her at 14, and you have her at 5.
Yeah, I just really respect her, and also playing also in such a great. I know, like, Game Changers, even though, you know, with rewatching, I kind of like, there's a lot of subversion of expectations when it came to like who got eliminated early on, or subverting. Where is it subversion? Ryan's bad at English. But, you know, like, that was such a crazy season where there were so many twists and everything going around. Making it to the end and also beating out these like icons. And then having like a tough, well, I wouldn't say final 3, but I'd say a tough finale to get through, because like the weakest link was obviously like Troyzan. But like, you know, being in a finale with like really, really respectable players and then still coming out on top says a lot.
Exactly. Okay. Let's move on to the next one here. We got Tyson Apostle, one of your favorite Survivor players of all time. Yeah, I mean, I think he plays a really strong game in Blood versus Water. Definitely his best game that he's played, just in terms of like what we're actually able to see. Because you know, sure, he gets some screen time in like Token Teens, but you know, he goes out so early that you know, he doesn't get, I think, a big chance to shine.
I feel like a lot of it was his humor and his like dickish nature that kind of like really made him stand out.
Yeah, and then Heroes vs. Villains, he was pretty much not there except for when he ends up voting himself out. Like, that's kind of like the takeaway from his Heroes vs. Villains game. So going into Blood versus Water, like I wasn't super like, oh yes, they brought back Tyson, because to me he was kind of like, he was there for just, you know, he was there, you know, maybe he gets a funny joke in here or there, but like he wasn't someone I was like, oh man, I'm glad that he's back. But yeah, his Blood vs. Water game, him making Jervis such a terrible jury threat was so genius. Like, he constantly making every little thing Jervis did seem like a big deal or like get it into everyone's heads, like, oh, you know, he's doing this thing with the coconuts, like how annoying, or you know, just one thing after another. And he knew that, you know, he's his closest ally. I want to get to the end with him, so let me just make the person I want to get to the end with a worse version, like a worse version of me, pretty much.
Yeah. Even despite that, like, you know, doing that, and then also even throughout the game, you know, taking charge and stuff, like you know, like putting his fate in, like, you know, making people go to rocks for the first time in like over 10 years. I'm trying to think exact. I'm trying to do the math real quickly. Like 12 years or something.
Yeah, I
First
will
time.
say that is, in my opinion, a blunder happens at that tribal council, because he has an idol, and he could have technically increased his chances of his side winning the rock draw by playing the idol. That, to me, that is his one downfall in his game, is that tribal council as a whole. It works out for him, like don't get me wrong, it does. But, you know, if he could have played it better, a better player, I think, would have played the idol there to increase the odds of his side being victorious. Because at that point in the game, whatever side ended up winning, they were going to be able to get to the end. Like, it was a clear, like, it was final 6, I believe. So it was like, you know, once someone goes home there, it's an open season pretty much to get to the end. So
Yeah. Yeah. I feel definitely he could have. However, it did help kind of bring him favor with what's her face? How am I forgetting her name? Culpepper, Monica.
Monica.
Monica Culpepper, you know, later on in the season. So it did kind of come into play, just not in the most like conventional way.
Yeah.
It is also kind of nice because I do feel that he also, maybe not as strong as other final tribals that we've talked about, but also his story of like, listen, you know, I was going to take this game seriously, but then when my loved one got voted out and everything, like, you know, something just clicked in me and stuff like that. You know, it got to me. Granted, Tyson was another winner pick of mine, mostly because, as I said last video, I was someone that had long, you know, blondish hair. So like I was rooting for my fellow long blondes, and I saw Token Sheens, and I also saw Heroes versus Villains, and like he was familiar to me, though I didn't know he was like great or anything. I was like, oh yeah, long-haired blonde, I'm gonna root for him.
I think Blood versus Water weirdly is one of the casts that has a half returning and half newbie cast, where I think the newbie cast is actually like almost better than a lot of the returning players that they end up bringing back. Like like I'd say Hayden was a huge success on the season. Sierra was a huge success.
Culpepper later on became like a huge success. Like even in that season, like he was pretty, for the time that he was there, you know, became like a pretty dominant, like, you know, when it came to eating up screen time and all that. Like
I think even Caleb, you know, he doesn't come back again or anything, but I thought he was still pretty entertaining. Vetus obviously ends up coming back again as well.
Tina's daughter.
Yeah, Tina's daughter.
Forgetting her name.
Katie Collins.
Katie.
Yeah, she won on our Brand Steel.
Yeah. Katie was also good.
Rupert's wife also was a interesting pre-merge, kind of like just a mess of a player.
No, I feel like also that season, it did kind of give highlights to some of the older contestants as well. Maybe not some of them, like, you know, Candace was like a kind of a wild card to bring in. Not much really came from her.
Yeah, like, what's unfortunate for her and her husband was they were last minute replacements on the cast, so they had no like talking with everyone else pre-game pretty much. So they were pretty much guaranteed to be voted out first.
Wait, who was their first? who do they replace, or do you know?
I forgot who it was. But yeah, it was, they were like a last second, like, hey, someone dropped out, can you do it? And so yeah, they kind of just didn't have much of a chance that season, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I mean, this season in general just gave us a lot. Laura Moret went from like like, all right, Samoa representation, to being like, okay, like I like Laura because like she did pretty well in, like, the challenges and everything. And
yeah,
like
she didn't have a Russell Hantz to take up 90% of the screen time.
exactly, she was able to shine more.
Yeah.
Overall great season, and like tough final three. So yeah, Tyson pulls it out. I put him at number 6, also because 6 is one of my favorite numbers, and I was like, I knew he wasn't top 5 material.
Uh-huh.
I was like, 6 is the highest I can go with him.
Got it. Yeah, I put him at number 12. So still respectable.
Yeah.
But I think there's a few things that just keep him out of the top 10 for me.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. Let's move
Yeah.
on now to our first perfect game.
We have JT Thomas
with 69 points.
Oh yeah. JT is someone who Token Change was the, when I started watching Survivor seriously. Very likable guy, very charismatic. Ended up on a very, very crappy team in the beginning, but was able to like soldier through that. Had a very, very strong alliance with Fishback, made it super, super far. And yeah, very, very, like overall such like a great guy, good at challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It like you said, hard to find fault in his game.
Yeah, exactly. We can find a lot of faults with his games after the season. Yes, there's a lot of faults, but this season, like, we're looking purely at Token Teams.
Yes.
Was a very good game. I will say, so I've said that I have like the top 3 who I consider are very dominant winners, and then the next 2 that make up my top 5 are the perfect winners, the people who had perfect games. So I have him at number 5 because I think he's, as the first perfect game winner, was very, very good. It just seemed like everyone in Token Teams was just okay losing that season and giving him the win. Maybe Steven Fishback was probably the only one who at the end was like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have JT make it to the end, but because he doesn't win final immunity, JT just gets a pretty easy win there.
Yeah. I mean, he deserved it. I know I ranked him a little lower, maybe because it was a little obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think
you had him at 12.
Yeah, he is a top tier one, but there is like some winners I like a little bit more than him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is definitely top 10, and I knew like it was going to balance out. But like personally, I like some people a little bit more.
Yeah. Fair. Okay, let's move on now to number 6. We got Poverty Shallow. Winner of Micronesia. One of the most dominant alliances ever in Survivor as well. I will say, I think in a rewatch of her game, it's clear that she's obviously a good player, but does have to rely a lot on other people to be playing the game at a good level as well. Like, like if she doesn't have Suri and Amanda as well on this alliance, I think that it could have easily faltered and been another one of those women alliances that just doesn't go very far. But she does have very strong-minded individuals to help kind of keep everything together. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on her? Because I know you have her very high.
I had her at, wasn't it number 3?
Number 2.
Number 2, above Spradlin.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is with Parvati, I feel that one coming back and also like coming back with, because in Cook Islands, yeah, she was like, the flirty type and she had like strategy and stuff,
Mhm.
but more so like the takeaway from her was, yeah, she's a little tough, but like, yeah, she's known as the hot girl. Subverting the expectations of that. Also, another one where she could have gone home first.
Yeah.
If Fair Play, unfortunately, like he was like concerned about like, leaving his pregnant girlfriend and stuff, with baby soon to be. And I was like, I knew this coming in there, but I couldn't. And that really reshaped the game from there. But yeah, it was something where, because that alliance worked so well, and the three of them were able to work together and make it to the end and everything, and how she was kind of able to influence the game, yes, with other people. And yeah, I see what you mean there. Just thinking about it, that little Black Widow alliance was pretty
it had some of the best players in Survivor. Even Natalie Bolton, I think, is one of the best one-time players of Survivor. To not win.
It's hard to say that she's underrated, because like the real ones kind of know about Bolton.
Yeah, it's interesting because she's on this very iconic season, making it as far as she did. More people are able to see her game, I think, than let's say like a Hayden Moss. Like, he was a good one-time player on Blood versus Water. Not as many people, I think, have seen that season or rated as highly as, like, say, Micronesia, where everyone's like, it's one of the best seasons of all time. So
exactly. And I feel like another reason I kind of put her high on that list was not necessarily a full-blooded returnee season, but also coming back to like one where you had a lot of big names in this, and also targets on her back, and going through that, also having like a really good alliance and everything, and then beating out, because it was kind of like a hero, or kind of like like the her and Amanda, even though they work so close together, they are like on opposite ends of the they are like on two sides of the same coin, but like one is very like light and the other one is very like dark.
There are a few other things that I think that help her get this win. You gotta remember that they all were expecting a final 3 out there, which would have meant Suri would have been at the end, who it does seem like she would have gotten the win over Parvati. So it is lucky that it was a surprise final 2 that happens. There's that. She has just like a few stumbles overall in the game that obviously great player, great character. Like, I can see why, as like more of that fan approach, like putting her way higher, because she is a great character to watch on TV. But because the only reason I have her way down here at number 13 on my list is because of these stumbles that, if it went on a proper course, I don't know if she's actually winning the game. I also think she has a pretty bad final tribal council. Like, she doesn't really articulate super well. It's just Amanda's fumble is even worse than hers. Like, Amanda never really learned how to properly pitch herself at the end, and a lot of that also has to do with she played back to back, so she kind of there was a little more of a break. It wasn't like a Russell Hantz back to back, like there was more of a break, but it was still like it felt like it was still like the same person going out there for Amanda than if you waited a little longer, got to really take in everything.
More hindsight. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. We got our top 5 now.
The top 5. Wow, we haven't seen any of Tony yet.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy? With 2 wins still.
Yeah, and we just, to those who don't know, or didn't see the little highlight thing, Tony isn't the next one. Next up, we have good old Jeremy Collins. Now, a lot of reasons why he's up here. One, he is someone where he won on one of the best seasons of Survivor, where so many twists, so many so many things being thrown at them, as well as going up against like really tough competitors as well. Also being a leader throughout pretty much entire of that, even when tribes swapped and everything and went from here to there to there to here, was still like in the right, and people knew that like he was a big target, but at the same time he was just like he just knew how like, oh, okay, but what about Wentworth? Okay, what about Sierra? She's playing a little bit too aggressive right now.
Yeah.
Like he was like, there was always like a bigger strategic fish to fry.
Yeah.
And he's someone that, just pushed through and everything. And
yeah, it's so interesting because it seems like he should be the meat shield that a lot of people were looking for if you're looking for meat shields, but ultimately, not the case. Like he ends up having Joe Ingram as a big shield. He's got Stephen Fishback, who ends up being his nerd shield. As you said, you got like Sierra, we got Wentworth. Like there's all these other people that he manages to convince everyone like these are the threats we need to take out.
He's not wrong either. He's just very good at like pointing out like,
exactly. But I think he was a bigger threat than even some of those other people. Like I think he's a bigger threat than Joe Ingram. Sure, Joe Ingram can win immunities and everything, but there's a lot of people on that cast who I don't think they should have been worried about that. Like Stephen Fishback wanted to get rid of Joe Ingram. I get it. You lost the golden boy on your first time. You're trying to,
redeem yourself.
Yeah. I think he was also thinking like, if you take out Joe Ingram and can get to the end and pitch your story as like, hey, I did what I couldn't do my first time. I think that's what he was trying to do. But in just overall strategy, if you know that you're not winning a bunch of challenges, don't worry about it. Don't worry about these physical beasts. Like let them be there. Try to be aligned with them so that way you always have the immunity necklace in your side.
Yeah, we actually way back, this was like in 2020, we did a video talking about what it takes to win Survivor. And this is just based purely off statistics because Joe and I have not been on Survivor yet. And what we discovered that winning immunity is not necessary at all.
Yeah.
It's more so about, like it offers you a place, it offers you safety. However, it does not mean that you will win in the end. Like all it does is assign one person who is safe. Now you don't have to be safe at tribal council in order to get through tribal council. Granted, it's nice having a necklace around your neck. However, not a necessity.
Yeah, exactly. Fun little thing I realized also when we did that, because we did that to potentially work with Russell Hance's YouTube channel.
And we almost kind of like mocked him.
Yeah, but what's interesting is after that, I remember he started mentioning that more Survivor players haven't won immunities, have 0 immunities than any other Survivor, which we definitely talked a little bit about that in our videos. So I wonder if
clearly, if we were showing it to him, he probably saw it.
Yeah.
But Russell Hance knows who we are.
Yeah.
May not be happy about it, but
we didn't get a message afterwards, so whatever.
It's all good.
Yeah. Okay, so I had Jeremy Collins at number 6. And you had him at number 7, so he actually gets a bit of a rise here because other people got tanked a little bit.
Yeah, regardless, definitely belongs in the top 10. And
Yeah.
I think number 5 is a great place for him.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's definitely deserving here.
All right.
Yeah, let's move on now to John Cochran, the other person to play a perfect game of Survivor, not getting any votes against them, and then getting to the end and receiving all the votes. Very strong game. Controlled a pretty good portion of the game, I'd say. And yeah, winning immunities too, even though he's, this little guy who, you would never expect him to do good in challenges. Even though in South Pacific, almost beat Aussie in that Redemption Island duel. It was very close. I think it was the closest that Aussie came to losing.
Yeah. The thing is, like, Cochran, he was another winner pick of mine, like, because, like, I remember in South Pacific him coming on. I was like, he's a fellow nerd, I gotta root for him. And then when he came back for Fans versus Favorites too, I was like, yes, awesome. And he played a really fantastic game, especially like pre-merge wise. You just had to let Philip do his thing and start self-destructing. And then from there, when he got into the merge, he's like, all right, all the things have aligned. I'm in the perfect position. And it was just like, all right, who to get rid of when. And, he's on his boss throne and everything. And great win. And like the end game was fantastic. Like, even like the jury knew, it was like, he's gonna win. This is kind of like, what are we doing? We're just
I feel like he had a way to the end, almost like from the minute of the merge started. Like I just felt like almost in a lot of scenarios he's getting to the end. Like a lot of people were willing to go very far into the game with him, whether they thought they could maybe beat him or they just liked him well enough that they would want to get to the end with him. It was. He was just in a great position that he was able to also control all these votes because everyone was wanting to work with him. He really, it was a pretty dominant game. Definitely deserving of a number 4 spot here.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Where were the placements?
Cochran, I placed him at 4, so exactly where he is, and you placed him at 9.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's get now to our first Tony of the season of the videos.
And the Tony goes to number 3 spot. Cagayan, man, that was something where he just watching that season, he made what was a solid season, and he made it even better, playing like pretty dominant game for a lot of it, like being in majority alliances, and then like banding people together and stuff, and then also being like playing flashy as well as like, oh, I got my bag of tricks, finding super idol, and when it expired still kind of was like, hey, I can use this to kind of and like still use it as an advantage to kind of like throw someone off their game, as well as convincing Wu to bring him to the end. And Wu's fate was sealed when that happened. Like, that's another huge Survivor what if. Like, what happens if Wu actually took Chaos Cass?
There's definitely theories about that of who could win. I don't know. I feel like there's a good chance Cass wins and we get a very differently edited Cagayan season than what we ended up seeing.
It would have been crazy.
I will say I did knock him points. Interestingly enough, even though he's a 2-time winner, I actually think that this Cagayan game is very hard to replicate. Like, it is so hard to be able to play this kind of game. It's a great game, so that's why he's I ranked him at number 7, but because it's not higher is because it's like you can't play that game and win multiple times. He had to change his game quite a bit going back out there for Winners at War to be able to win again. So because he ends up altering his game, and which is honestly, I think I'm glad that he went on Game Changers because he got to be able to have a bad season to like make people forget about him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree. He needed that Game Changers thing. It made also a shocking elimination. It's like, oh shit, Tony went out this early.
Yeah.
In the like premiere episode, nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The two-parter. It was very sad.
Very sad. Like I was like shell shocked after that because you got Sierra.
Yeah.
And then you got Tony. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Big characters went out very quick in Game Changers. That was the theme.
Yeah. And like Tony, like in this season, he did play cutthroat. He definitely played like a villain game. And then, also like despite being the person that swore on like his entire family to different people, still won and still, won out.
Yeah.
That's just because like his strategy, his gameplay, and the Flash as well was so dominant.
He also played in the right time because this is like the start of the real new school era of Survivor, where people were like, they cared more about gameplay and strategy than like, oh, I like this person. Like if this season happens back in like season 10, I think who wins the season? Like I think that they would have all just dogpiled onto Tony for the whole final tribal. Everyone would have been going into voting like mad at him, and then they would have voted for Lou because they were like, "Why didn't yell at Lou right there?" So I guess I'll vote for him.
Yeah, man, it is crazy. It is crazy how timing also kind of plays into a factor when it comes to their wins.
Yeah, timing, the cast, like there's so many out of your can things that go into a season that's like that, which makes it impossible to be like, yeah, I could go out there and win, like because you don't know who's on your cast, you don't know if
tribe chemistry.
Yeah, you don't know what your tribe chemistry is. You don't know if like your mental and like physical abilities right at your time is in a good spot to go out there and succeed at a good level.
Yeah, it's hell. I even talked to Joe. I was like, I don't know, can I even do Survivor now? Like,
I mean, I do think that we are around the point where it's more realistic that we can actually go out there and play a better game. I know Marianne has actually said she doesn't want to play Survivor for a while because she wants to get that life experience. She wants to get a little older. And now we're 25, 26. Now we're starting to get to that point where it's like, okay, we can connect a little bit to some of the older people, we can connect to the younger people. We're in the winter age bracket now, which is the right time, I think, to start applying.
I'll go back and forth whether or not I do. I even thought so earlier today.
You should if you do it, maybe we can release both of our audition videos
and then react and be like, talk about it. We'll see.
Yeah.
No promises.
Exactly. Right. Let's see. So where did you had Tony Blanco's Cagayan game at 4. So yeah. So yeah, pretty good there. 3? I had his Cagayan game at 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I had ranked him a little low because
the replication.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Now. Yeah, there it is, number 2.
Kim Spradlin Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of my favorite winners. She's someone where, aside from the point she had, like she helped pioneer the first final 5 that were all, female.
Mm-hmm.
But she was also someone who, was very smart, very calculating. Also won quite a few challenges in her own season, respectively. She was like a triple threat, very social as well.
Tied the female challenge records.
Yeah,
great player. Boston Rob dominated the game through fear. Kim Spradlin dominated through compassion. and managed to get everyone to just like her so much that she ultimately gets to make all the calls in the game, and no one felt like she was making the calls. Like, another case with Boston Rob as well. I think that could be a knock for her. Not a great cast. I think the only other person on this cast that was actually thinking about the game was Troyzan, which and
I don't know. I feel like Sabrina was as well.
I don't know. If she was thinking about the game, anyone who thought about the game should have taken out Kim. Troyzan was the only one who even thought like, "Hey, maybe we should take out Kim," and they're like, "Why would we do that?"
I mean, granted, I feel like one of the great things about One World is Kim and like her win and how great it was. That is like a highlight of the season. I feel like if she wasn't in this season, and let's say the events kind of played out the same, it's just wasn't specifically Kim, it is a lower tier season. But because she was in it and she had such a fantastic win, it really, really boosted it up.
Yeah, it gets a few points. It's kind of crazy though how many players from the season have returned, because there's quite a bit. Even though I think the fan sentiment around it is not very good. Like if you look at other seasons that I think some fans just kind of like don't like Nicaragua or Fiji. They only have like a couple people who ever end up coming back to play again. Like it's very few.
Yeah, there's like 5 from this season. Troyzan, you have Kim, obviously. You have Colton, you have Monica Culpepper.
You got Cass.
And you also have Cass. Yeah, that's 5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Pretty good numbers for people to come back to return.
And Sabrina was even on the roster for Second Chance.
Yeah, too. She could have been on Second Chance. Yeah, we could have had 6 people from Game Changers. In fact, it's still possible. I think Sabrina might honestly return again. Like the fact that she was on that Second Chance ballots, very possible. And I know that she's still somewhat in the community, like going to events and stuff. So it's not out of the possibility.
Not out of the question, no.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, right. Here it comes. Drum roll. Who could be the last? Who could be number 1 on our winner rankings? It could be anyone, right?
Owen.
Yeah, Owen from Total Drama Island.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is Tony Vlachos from the Winners at War. He played against the best. He dominated against the best. He knew exactly what he needed to do in his and who he is, how he needs to get to the end. He laid low, waited till he needed to take out Sophie, who was a key player in the game. Like she had a lot of connections with a lot of people. By taking her out, all those people who had connections to her suddenly got transferred over to Tony, and now Tony was in complete control of the game.
And it was GG's. And I was just like, I remember doing this. I'm like, okay, he's getting too big. They're gonna take him out. They gotta take him out. Why aren't they taking him out? Like, what the? Are you seeing this? Come on, guys, it's obvious. But I mean, like, not only that, he also played a good physical game, winning immunity challenges and everything. He played a fantastic social game. He gave us one of the best fire making challenges ever. That like little friendship rivalry and the fire making between him and Lucina, iconic. And then him winning, after like having the reputation, everything. And like even like people that he was going after, like Jeremy, and it was like pretty apparent, like like, oh, Jeremy, you're going home. But they were able to like talk about work weeks and stuff like that, and everything out like on their like little bench, and be like, talk things out. Like he was exceptional and beyond in like every single aspect of the game.
Yeah, it was so great, and especially as he was my winner pick. We got to choose. I got to choose anyone. I had first run of the picks there, and Yeah, I wanted Tony. Tony was someone I was like, you know what? I read his bios. He explained that he was going to play low, and everyone was like, Tony's not going to play low. There's no way
Yeah.
that he's going to do that.
Yeah, I thought you were pretty bold to choose that.
Yeah, I was I was looking at everyone else doing the drafts of it, and he was like one of the last ones everyone was picking. And yeah, no, I wanted him first. A lot of it was, he's my favorite player of all time. So for him to then come in and then actually play the best game of Survivor that we have seen, it really made Winners at War definitely gained some notches for me, because when I look back, there's definitely in the season, like the middle of the season was a little kind of like, it's okay. But yeah, once Tony has the Tony episode where I think he had like 18 confessionals in one episode. He really amped up the gameplay, and it's
not only that, another great moment from that was a seemingly impossible task, the fire tokens, to buy his way back into immunity challenge.
It was he made a penalty against him a great move.
Yes, one of the best moves in Survivor history, one of the greatest Survivor moments. And correct me if I'm wrong, he ended up winning that said challenge too.
He did, yeah.
So,
it's crazy. Like, he had other people bet on him winning. I mean, like if someone came up to you in Survivor and said, "Hey, I can't compete in this immunity challenge unless you give me your tokens," you'd be like, "Oh, I don't want you winning immunity. I want to win immunity. I'm not giving you my tokens."
I would, but I spent it on peanut butter.
Yeah. Michelle, ends up, not being able to do it, but yeah, no, being able to get Jeremy and Nick to both do it is crazy. It's great. Yeah, so it was just like great move after one after another with him. Like, it didn't matter what happened. Like, Natalie comes back into the game, which should have been the end of Tony's game, because she basically blurts out to everyone, "Hey, Tony's winning the game at Final 6," and still makes it to the end.
Yep. He was just that good, and obviously he was going to be number one on our list for Winners at War, but at the same time, it's the journey. It's also seeing all those little peeps in the middle. And
Exactly.
This was a lot of fun talking about Survivor. I know we're right off the cusp of 1 week ago, almost to the hour. Actually, to the hour, because the finale and stuff is hella short, or the reunion show is hella short. But yeah, Marianne joined this list and everything, and it was a lot of fun. And we haven't done a list like this in quite some time. So
exactly, it's always nice to do these every now and then. Definitely a lot of work, and I know everyone is probably eager to get back to our brand steals. I already feel like everyone wants us to get back to that. So don't you fret. Next week. I'll reveal what next week's video will even be to get you guys all excited about it. We are doing Survivor 41 versus Survivor 42, top 10 players from each season going head to head. And yeah, we're gonna see if we combine the casts. How would it go down?
I would be interested. Lindsay is finally going to see some people she would have played with. It's like, oh, hey, yeah,
exactly.
Survivor what if. It's going to be a fun time. You might see a special guest. We'll discuss after.
Sounds good.
So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know we made a list of the best ones, but if you guys want to tell us who your favorite winner is, go ahead in the comments below.
Yeah, if you want to list also in the comments, feel free to let it. If you want to go through the effort of creating your own list, feel free.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
All
exactly.
right, guys.
Okay,
Well,
so that's gonna do it for this episode, and we will see you in the next one.
peace.